Let's talk about something very interesting that is happening all across the country. You know, they did the census, and they do the census for a lot of reasons, basically to find out where people are moving, where they're going, and how to redraw the political districts. And that is just about upon us because, of course, the census material is now being collected. Last month, of course, the voters did approve this initiative that allows a panel of Californians to go ahead and do the congressional districts and state districts, as I understand it. John Dadian is with us talking about this and what this basically means for our political landscape. Good morning.
Good morning, Dan.
So every 10 years this happens, and every 10 years somebody wants to get their fingers in it and draw a district around where their voters are, but I guess this year maybe not going to happen.
That's exactly right. Up until this time, since California's become a state, it's a state legislator that has drawn their own lines. Past elections, for the first time, a redistricting panel passed, and this will be the first election, the 2012 election, where it will be in place.
Yeah, so this is a panel of 14 people, and who are these people?
14 people that ended up, it's better than American Idol, 14 people out of 30,000 that applied. Wow. So think of the odds of getting there. And it's a really kind of a very Byzantine process that the first 8 were selected at random from a list of finalists, and then they selected the final 6.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I guess the idea is that this is in the hand of nonpartisan people who are not drawing districts for their own benefit.
That's correct. And again, with 30,000 applying, it was very stringent to get down to these 4. And it's a very complicated formula as far as so many Republicans, so many Democrats, and so many others, whether that be declined state or nonpartisan. So they really there's a method to the madness, and it looks like it'll start to work pretty well. They'll start convening in January.
So now there's an old saying, it's called gerrymandering, and we've all heard it. But you actually, shared the origins of this with me. And it's pretty interesting. And gerrymandering basically is drawing a line around where all your voters might be and creating these crazy looking districts as opposed to maybe just a block and a block and a block and just get who you get.
That's correct, and the term goes back to 1812, but to show you the significance of it, this is why this redistricting panel is in effect, because up until right present day, if you look at our congressional districts, the lines are pretty crazy. But it was Governor Gary in Massachusetts, and what he did, one of the districts looked like a salamander, so the cartoonists at the time, they even had cartoonists at those times, they called it a salamander, and so they called it a Gary-mander, and it's morphed over time to gerrymander.
So that's where we get gerrymander.
From the governor of Massachusetts, 1812.
The governor of Massachusetts. Now, at this point, the process, we won't get into too many details, but the process is these folks all sit down and try to decide where the population centers are and where the population has moved.
That's right. The core, the real reason why we're discussing this today, Dan, is the core are the basic tenet of democracy. It's everybody has to have an equal say. So if one district has twice as many as the other person, their representative has more weight, and that's not right. And that's why you try to do it. The original redistricting had just the state, senate, and assembly districts, but this recent election that we just had added congressional. So it is those 3 seats and the Board of Equalization. So there'll be 4 maps that they'll come up with.
So now, does each district have to have, I think, something like 250,000 people to make it equal?
For Congress?
For Congress.
I believe it's about 450,000.
Oh, it's up to 450,000.
Right. The congressional seats nationwide are set in a set number of 435. When the census is done, some states lose and some seats gain states. California has 53 congressional districts.
And we're keeping it that way.
It looks like it's going to keep. Again, the final numbers aren't in, but it looks like it will keep. But it will be the first time since California became a state since 1850 that we're not gaining a seat.
Interesting. A lot of people are moving to Texas, apparently.
A lot of people that, we keep complaining about tax in California, perhaps. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, because I think they're picking up 2 or 3 seats, aren't they?
Again, certain states that have grown in population, those are the ones that are going to be picking. You see mostly in the Sun Belt, but even some back east for the first time.
Texas, no income taxes, very low business taxes, very friendly to business. Yeah. It's obvious where people are going.
Funny how that works.
All right, well, we'll see how it goes, and I guess we should all feel better that it's in the hand of the panel. There's some people who don't like the panel, obviously members of Congress who would prefer to do it themselves, or legislature, but this is the way it is.
And here locally, our city of San Diego, that panel has already had a couple meetings, and that's an independent panel also, and they'll be doing the same thing. The city is interesting because in addition to redrawing the lines, they'll be adding a council district.
That's right. So they have to completely move around.
It's going to be a lot of line changes, and if you don't think a lot of current elected officials and potential candidates are watching this closely, they are.
They are indeed, getting ready for the next 2 years. Congressional lines will be a-changing.
You betcha.
Thanks a lot. John Dadian, political analyst, thanks.
Good
See
to
you
see
later.
you.
Good to see you too. Merry Christmas.